My mother-in-law locked me in a bathroom during labor at a wedding. She took my phone and left me screaming for hours. But when the family found out what she did, the karma was brutal. I'm 29 years old. My name is Amanda, and 3 months ago I gave birth to my daughter Ruby under circumstances that I still can't believe actually happened. I mean, when people ask me how the birth went, I don't even know where to start because the truth is that my mother-in-law literally locked me in a bathroom while I was in labor during my sister-in-law's wedding. And when I say literally, I mean she took my phone and left me there screaming for help until I lost my voice. I know it sounds like something from a bad movie or an episode of some true crime show, but it happened, and I need to tell it because I'm still processing everything. I guess I should start from the beginning. When Tom and I had been married for like 2 years and decided to start trying for a baby, Tom is amazing. He always has been. And from the moment we met like 6 years ago, I knew I wanted to start a family with him. His family seemed normal at first. You know, his mom, Barbara, was a bit intense, but I thought she was just one of those moms who's very protective of her kids, nothing out of the ordinary. Tom has 2 sisters, Isabella, who's 28, and Megan, who's 24. And I always got along well with them, especially with Isabella, because we were close in age and became pretty close. Isabella had been dating Matthew for like 3 years, a really good guy who's also Tom's friend from college, and we all knew the engagement was going to come any moment. So it turns out I got pregnant in March of last year, and when I took the test and it came out positive, I literally started crying from excitement. Tom came home from work and I told him, and he started crying too. It was one of those perfect moments you see in movies, you know? We decided to wait until 12 weeks to tell the family, because, that's what's recommended, and we wanted to make sure everything was going well. During those 12 weeks, everything was normal. I had horrible morning sickness, but nothing I couldn't handle, and Tom was super excited buying books about fatherhood and watching YouTube videos on how to change diapers. In May, like 2 weeks after we hit the 12-week mark, Isabella invited us to dinner at her apartment, and that's when she gave us the news that Matthew had proposed. We all screamed and jumped with excitement, and she was glowing, showing off her ring, which was beautiful, like a traditional diamond, but with a vintage design that was totally her style. She told me, "Amanda, I need you to be my maid of honor. Please say yes." And I obviously said yes because we were very close and I felt super honored. They wanted to have the wedding in October, like 5 months later, which was a bit rushed, but Isabella said that when, and that she didn't want to wait any longer. Well, so a week later, Tom and I decided it was time to tell the family about the pregnancy. We organized a dinner at our house and invited Barbara, Isabella, Megan, and Matthew too. I made lasagna, which is Barbara's favorite dish, thinking that would help make everything perfect. And after dinner, Tom said, "Well, family, we have some news to share." And I took out the ultrasound picture and put it on the table. Isabella screamed and got up to hug me. Megan was super excited too. Matthew congratulated us. But Barbara, I don't know. She had a weird expression on her face. Like she was smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes. You know what I mean? She said congratulations and all that. But I felt something strange in that moment, although I didn't give it much importance. After everyone calmed down a bit, I told Isabella, "Look, I need to talk to you about the maid of honor thing." And she got serious because I think she knew what was coming. I explained that by October I was going to be like 35 weeks, basically about to give birth, and that I didn't think it was a good idea to be standing during the entire ceremony and reception. Plus, I'd probably look horrible in photos with a giant belly in a bridesmaid dress. I expected her to get upset or at least disappointed. But Isabella completely surprised me. She took my hands and said, "Amanda, are you crazy? Your health and the baby's are what's most important. Obviously, I understand. Don't worry about it at all." She told me that Megan could be the maid of honor in my place, and that I just needed to show up and enjoy the wedding as a normal guest, that was more than enough for her. I literally started crying because pregnancy hormones were crazy, and she cried too, and we hugged, and Tom told me later that we looked like a Hallmark commercial. But Barbara? The thing is, Barbara got weird about that. When Isabella said there was no problem and that I should just go as a guest, Barbara said something like, "Well, let's hope you don't go into labor during the ceremony and ruin Isabella's day." She said it kind of as a joke, but not really. And we all went quiet for an awkward moment. Tom told her, "Mom, that's not going to happen. Amanda will be fine." And she just shrugged and changed the subject. I thought, okay, maybe she's just being overprotective of Isabella. I didn't think much of it. The next few months were weird with Barbara. Like, every time we saw each other at family gatherings, she'd make passive-aggressive comments about my pregnancy. If I mentioned I was tired, she'd say things like, "Oh well, you haven't done anything yet. Wait until the baby is born." If I talked about decorating the baby's room, she'd say, "Don't spend so much money. Babies don't need all those fancy things." Once Tom and I went to her house for a barbecue and I sat on the couch because my feet hurt, and she told Tom in front of everyone, "Your wife is very delicate." My generation worked until the day of delivery, and we didn't complain. Tom defended me and told her to stop making those comments, but Barbara just laughed like it was all an innocent joke. Isabella noticed that Barbara was being weird with me and asked if everything was okay. I told her about some of the comments, and she told me that Barbara had been acting strange with her too, like jealous almost. Making comments about how the wedding was very expensive or that she was getting married too quickly. Isabella thought that maybe Barbara was going through something, I don't know, like a midlife crisis or something, because she had also started being more controlling with everyone in general. Megan told me that Barbara had tried to convince her to move back to the family home because supposedly living alone was too dangerous for a young girl, and Megan was 24, not 16. So it was super weird. By September, I was huge, like really huge. And my doctor told me everything was going perfectly, and that Ruby, that's what we decided to name her, was growing very well. The due date was November 5th, which meant that for Isabella's wedding on October 12th, I was going to be 36 weeks. Technically not quite full term, but close. I asked my doctor if it was safe to go to the wedding, and he said yes, that I just needed to have my phone nearby and make sure Tom was with me the whole time in case something happened, but that the chances of going into labor on that specific day were low. The wedding was going to be at a nice venue like an hour from the city, like an old restored house with beautiful gardens, very romantic and perfect for what Isabella wanted. The preparations were intense because Barbara insisted on controlling every detail, and poor Isabella was super stressed trying to keep her mom happy while also trying to have the wedding she actually wanted. There were several dramas in the weeks leading up to it, like Barbara wanting to invite like 50 more people that Isabella didn't even know, or insisting that the menu be different. Things like that. Matthew was super patient with everything, but I could see he was also tired of Barbara. The wedding day arrived, October 12th, and I woke up feeling weird. Nothing specifically bad, just like heavy and with a bit of lower back pain. But I thought it was normal because I'd been carrying like 35 extra pounds and had slept badly. Tom asked me if I felt okay to go, and I told him yes, that I was probably just nervous for Isabella. We got ready. I put on a navy blue maternity dress that I'd bought specifically for the wedding, and we left for the venue around 2 in the afternoon because the ceremony started at 4. When we arrived, the place looked beautiful. They had decorated everything with white flowers and candles, very elegant but not over the top. Isabella was in one of the upstairs rooms getting ready with Megan and the other bridesmaids, and Barbara was running around organizing the vendors and giving orders to everyone. She greeted me quickly and continued with her thing, and Tom went to find Matthew to see how he was. I stayed in the reception area talking with some relatives I hadn't seen in a while. Around 3:30, I started feeling something weird in my lower back, like a strong pressure that came and went. I thought maybe it was because I'd been standing for too long. So I sat in one of the chairs and tried to relax. Tom came to find me, and I told him my back hurt a little but that I was fine. He insisted we leave if I didn't feel well, but I told him no, that we weren't going to miss Isabella's wedding because of back pain, that it would probably go away. 10 minutes later, like at 3:40, I felt something wet between my legs, and my first thought was, no way, this isn't happening. I got up quickly and realized my dress was wet, and I totally panicked. I literally thought, okay, Amanda, breathe. Maybe you just peed a little. That happens in pregnancy. It's not the end of the world. But the amount of liquid was too much, and it had that weird, sweet smell they'd told me amniotic fluid has. I walked as fast as I could to the bathroom that was on the first floor, like almost running but trying not to let anyone see me, and when I went in and closed the door, I pulled down my underwear and saw that it was definitely amniotic fluid. It had that light pinkish color. I started hyperventilating because, okay, my water broke, I'm in labor. At my sister-in-law's wedding, 20 minutes before the ceremony starts. I took out my phone to call Tom, but just at that moment I started feeling a strong contraction, not like the back pains from before, but something that bent me completely over. I grabbed the sink and tried to breathe like they'd taught me in birthing classes, but it hurt way more than I expected. The contraction lasted like a minute, and when it passed, I tried to call Tom, but I was shaking so much that I dropped my phone on the floor. I bent down to pick it up and heard someone knock on the door. A voice said, "Is anyone in there? The other bathroom is busy and I need to get in." It was Barbara. I told her, "Barbara, it's Amanda. I'm in labor. I need you to go get Tom right now." There was silence for a moment, and then she opened the door. I don't know how, but she opened it. Maybe I hadn't locked it properly when I came in. She saw me there, sitting on the floor next to the toilet with my wet dress and my phone in my hand, and her face, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't concern or fright. It was like annoyance mixed with something darker. Barbara came in and closed the door behind her with the lock. I told her, "Please go get Tom. I need to go to the hospital now." And she just stared at me. Then she said, "You can't do this now, Amanda. The wedding starts in 15 minutes. You're not going to ruin Isabella's day." I thought she was joking, like it was her weird way of handling stress. So I told her, "Barbara, I'm not joking. The baby is coming. I need help." But she came closer and took the phone from my hand. She literally snatched it from me and put it in her purse. I told her, "What are you doing? Give me back my phone." And she said, "You're going to stay here, quietly until the ceremony is over. It's just an hour. The baby can wait an hour." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told her she was crazy, that this was dangerous, that I or the baby could die. But she just kept saying that I always dramatized everything, and that an hour wasn't going to make a difference. I tried to get up to leave, but another contraction hit me and I fell to my knees. Barbara left the bathroom and I heard her lock it from the outside. It has one of those old locks with a key that can be locked from the outside, and she locked it and took the key. I started screaming her name, banging on the door, screaming for someone to help me. But the bathroom was in a part of the venue that was kind of set apart, and with all the music and noise of people getting ready for the ceremony, nobody could hear me. I kept screaming until I literally couldn't anymore, until my voice was gone. The contractions were coming closer and closer together, maybe every 5 minutes, and the pain was unbearable. I tried to open the bathroom window, but it was sealed, one of those old windows that are painted shut and won't open. I looked for something to break the window with, but there was nothing, just soap and towels. Time passed and I was there alone, on the bathroom floor, in labor, without a phone, unable to call for help, knowing that on the other side of the walls was my whole family celebrating while I could be dying. I don't know exactly how much time passed, maybe an hour, maybe more. But at some point the pain became so intense that I started feeling like I was going to pass out. I was so afraid of passing out because I thought, what if the baby comes while I'm unconscious? What if I bleed out and nobody finds me? I kept trying to stay awake, but each contraction left me weaker. I remember at some point I started praying, and I'm not even very religious, but I was begging God or the universe or whoever that please don't let my baby die, that if someone had to die, let it be me, but let Ruby live. Eventually I passed out. I don't remember at exactly what moment, but I do remember that I opened my eyes and Tom was there, kneeling next to me, screaming my name and shaking me. His face was white as paper and he had tears in his eyes. I said something to him. I don't remember what. Maybe just his name. And he picked me up and got me out of there. He told me later that he'd been looking for me everywhere, that he'd asked everyone if they'd seen me, and that he finally found Barbara and asked her if she'd seen me. She told him she didn't know where I was, but Tom noticed she was acting weird, nervous, and he followed her until he saw her looking toward the first-floor bathroom. He went and found the door locked, and when Barbara tried to stop him, he literally kicked the door down. They took me to the hospital in an ambulance. I don't remember much of the trip because I was going in and out of consciousness. At the hospital, the doctors said Ruby and I had been very lucky, that if Tom had taken a few more minutes, things could have been much worse. They did an emergency C-section because Ruby was in fetal distress. And when I heard her cry for the first time, I started crying too, like sobbing uncontrollably because she was alive. My baby was alive and I was alive. Tom was with me the whole time, holding my hand and telling me everything was going to be okay. Ruby was born weighing almost 7 pounds, perfect and beautiful. And when they put her in my arms, I couldn't stop looking at her. Tom was crying too and kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, this should never have happened. I didn't understand why he was apologizing. It wasn't his fault. But he explained that Barbara had confessed everything to him after he found me. She told him that yes, She had locked me in the bathroom, that she did it because she didn't want me to ruin Isabella's wedding, that she felt like I always hogged all the attention with the pregnancy, and that this day was supposed to be Isabella's, not mine. Tom told her she was dead to him, that he never wanted to see her again, that he was going to call the police and press charges against her for what she did. Isabella? Megan and Matthew arrived at the hospital around 10 at night, still in their wedding clothes. Isabella was wearing her complete wedding dress and was crying, hugging me and telling me how sorry she was, that if she had known what her mom had done, she never would have let it happen. I told her it wasn't her fault at all, that she couldn't have known, and she just kept apologizing. Matthew was furious, like I'd never seen him that angry, and Tom and he went outside to talk about what to do about Barbara. Megan was quiet but crying too, and when she held Ruby for the first time, she told her, "Your grandmother is a terrible person, but we're going to take care of you always." Isabella asked me if she could take a picture with me and Ruby, and I told her of course. So the three of them, Isabella in her wedding dress, Megan in her bridesmaid dress, and Matthew in his groom's suit, took pictures with Ruby and me at the hospital, and those pictures are some of the most surreal but also most beautiful things I have. Isabella told me she'd had a beautiful wedding, that everything came out perfect, but that none of that mattered compared to making sure Ruby and I were okay. She told me that Matthew and she had completely cut contact with Barbara, that what she did was unforgivable and that they were never going to let her meet Ruby. The next few days in the hospital were crazy. Tom was with Ruby and me the whole time, sleeping in an uncomfortable chair and refusing to go home. His dad, Tom's dad, who's been divorced from Barbara for like 10 years, came to visit us and was also outraged by what Barbara had done. He told me he always knew Barbara had control issues, but that he never imagined she'd go to something this extreme. Megan also came every day, bringing us food and helping with whatever we needed. I was so exhausted physically and emotionally that when Tom told me he wanted to press charges against Barbara, I said no, that I just wanted to forget everything and focus on Ruby. He didn't agree but respected my decision. I think part of me still couldn't fully process what had happened, like my brain couldn't accept that someone had actually done something like that. They discharged us from the hospital 3 days later, and when we got home, I thought we could finally start to heal and be a normal family. But Barbara didn't leave us alone. Like 2 weeks after Ruby was born, like at 1 in the morning, we started hearing loud banging on our front door. Tom went to see who it was, and it was Barbara, screaming that she wanted to see her granddaughter, that she had a right to meet her. Tom told her to leave or he was going to call the police, but she kept screaming and banging on the door. The neighbors came out to see what was happening, and finally Tom did call the police. When they arrived, Barbara told them that we were denying her access to her granddaughter for no reason, but Tom explained what had happened at the wedding, and the officers told Barbara to leave or they were going to arrest her for disturbing the peace. After that, Barbara started sending us text messages, like 50 messages a day, some begging us to forgive her and others accusing us of being bad children and alienating her from her family. The messages were getting more and more disturbing. In one, she said that Ruby shouldn't have been born that day because it was Isabella's day, that the universe was trying to tell Tom and me something, but we were too selfish to listen. In another, she said that she had done the right thing by locking me in the bathroom, because if Ruby had been born during the ceremony, it would have ruined Isabella's memories forever. The messages were so crazy that Tom finally saved them all as evidence. Isabella called me, crying, one night, and told me that Megan had convinced Barbara to go see a psychiatrist for an evaluation. We all thought maybe Barbara had some serious mental problem that explained her behavior, like a personality disorder or something. Barbara agreed to go. I guess because she thought if they diagnosed her with something that would make her look like a victim and not the villain. But when the results came out, the psychiatrist said Barbara didn't have any serious mental illness, just generalized anxiety disorder that was treatable with therapy and medication. I mean, everything she did completely consciously, knowing exactly what she was doing, and that somehow made it worse. Tom finally decided we needed legal protection, so with a lawyer's help we applied for a restraining order against Barbara. We had to go to court and explain everything that happened, show the text messages, the medical reports from the hospital, everything. The judge listened to it all and granted the restraining order for 5 years, which means Barbara can't come near us, Ruby, or our house for any reason. When the judge gave his decision, Barbara started screaming in court that this was unfair, that we were taking her granddaughter away, and they had to remove her from there because she wouldn't shut up. It was horrible but also necessary. Now, 3 months later, things are better. but I'm still processing everything. Ruby is perfect, she's growing well, and she's the happiest baby I've ever known. Tom is an amazing dad. He wakes up with me for night feedings even though he has to work the next day, and he always tells me he's sorry he didn't protect me better that day at the wedding. I tell him it's not his fault, that nobody could have predicted his mom was going to do something that insane, but I know he carries that guilt and probably will for a long time. Isabella and Matthew come visit us like once a week, and they always bring gifts for Ruby even though we tell them it's not necessary. Isabella told me that every time she sees her wedding photos, she thinks about me locked in that bathroom and feels terrible, but I tell her it's not her fault, that her wedding was beautiful and not to let what Barbara did ruin those memories. Megan also comes often and loves to hold Ruby and sing songs to her. Tom's family has been super supportive. Everyone cut contact with Barbara without us asking them to, and that means a lot to me. Sometimes at night when I'm feeding Ruby, I think about that day, about how I felt alone in that bathroom, believing I was going to die, and my hands start shaking. Tom tells me I should go to therapy to process the trauma, and I think he's right. I'll probably do it when Ruby is a little older. For now, I just try to focus on day to day, on these perfect moments with my baby, on building our life together. Last week, Ruby smiled for the first time. Not one of those newborn reflex smiles, but a real smile, and Tom and I both started crying, because it was the most beautiful thing we'd ever seen. In that moment, I thought, this is what matters. This is what made surviving that horrible day worth it. Barbara couldn't ruin us, couldn't take this from us, and she's never going to be able to get near Ruby as long as I have anything to say about it. I guess in the end, that's enough, right? Having my family, having my healthy baby, having a husband who loves and protects us, that's more than enough.